Welcome to the Beef Lab. I'm your host, Coach Joe Strong, here at the Mecca of Strength and Conditioning, Varsity House Gym. The Beef Lab is an inside look at everything it takes to run a world-class training facility. This is the source for strength entrepreneurs who want to learn more about programming, training athletes, business development, and marketing their brand. We're going to show you how we took Varsity House from a dingy little garage gym to a world-class brand. Coach Joe here from Varsity House Gym. We're at the board. I'm in the boardroom today with my business partner and co-owner Dan Goodman. And today we're going to talk about creating your brand and how we created the vision of Varsity House and the whole plan of branding that image from start to finish. We're going to talk about everything we learned about empowering our employees and how our brand empowers our employees and creates a tribe of clients who are not just money clients, but fans of the gym who do most of the marketing and business development for us, and how we laid out that process from start to finish. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is creating the vision for your ideal business. And I think that's one of the areas when we talk to a lot of young gym owners and young people who are just starting in the business, they don't have a clear and distinct vision for what they want, what they really want to do. And that's who do you want to train, how do you want to train them, what do you want the atmosphere and feel of your gym to be like. And they kind of just like jump in head first and they start training anybody and everybody, and it's like a real mishmash of stuff, and that's something that we were really, I think we were pretty clear on right from the get-go. Like, we only want to do this, and let's just start with this, and then
definitely in the beginning we sacrificed dollars in the beginning, saying, you know what, just to get our brand across to the community, we are not going to train any adults. We had no adult cross-training classes where it was just, hey, we are going to find athletes. We are going to find the contact sport athletes that we want to, portray ourselves as being the experts of, being their coaches and trainers. We want to find the football players, the hockey players. We want to find baseball players. We were training a lot of high-level tennis players. And then once we had created that atmosphere, we decided, okay, you know what? We can start to train the adult that wants to continue to train like an athlete, and people that identify themselves with, still being a weekend warrior type athlete. And, but at the beginning, I think it was imperative for us that we needed to establish that brand as being, the go-to guys to train like an athlete and to better oneself at their specific sport.
Yeah, no question. So, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, who do you really want to train? And I think that's really important. So, everybody has like let's say a passion or a switch that's on. Like, they really get excited for certain types. And for us, it was athletes. We were both athletes. We were both huge jock chasers and huge fans of sports. And football was obviously our passion and love. And I love the grittiness of wrestling and MMA. I come from a pretty long and extensive martial arts background, so it was a natural fit to want to train those types of kids. And so creating an image or creating your ideal client really comes down to a couple things. Who do you want to train? So if it's an athlete, so if you know that you want to be in a performance center, an athletic center, then it's what are those athletes doing? What sports do you want to work with? Another thing within that realm too is like, all right, I know we're going to train sport athletes. I know we're going to train football players, baseball players, soccer, hockey, wrestlers, and things like that. One of the things in sprint, we were weightlifting coaches. We were strength and conditioning coaches. We really didn't take let's say, distance runners. We really didn't take, gymnastic athletes and stuff like that. Sports that were unfamiliar to us. We stuck to the main core sports: football, basketball, baseball, soccer, wrestling. I had a good rapport with a lot of tennis, but it was mostly sprint dominated, explosive sport athletes, track and field throwers and sprinters. And then we started to go out and then we created a system. The system that we had was, strength training first. All athletes can better themselves by developing themselves, in the gym, and getting stronger led to being more explosive, which led to increases in speed, which led to increases in sport-specific ability.
Which is something that we battled for sure when we first had people coming in. It was like, do you guys do speed and agility classes? It's like, well, yes, but everybody's going to be doing some sort of strength training. And we would get parents of student athletes would say, oh, well, we just want to do speed and agility. And we always had to go back and explain, well, that's not necessarily our system. We believe that everybody stands to benefit from strength and powerful gains. And that's what we were, and that's what we believed. And again, we probably turned some people off when there really was that speed and agility, speed school craze that was 8 to 10 years ago.
Sure, and so if you look back 10 years ago, the box gym, CrossFit had really just begun and was not even really a big name yet. The box gym thing was not where it is today, and because I think of like gyms like CrossFit and Joe DeFranco and Elite FTS and Westside Barbell kind of being the pioneers of those box gym strength centers, hadn't really caught on yet. So we were, in a sense, at the base of that game, and we really had to explain to parents a lot about our training system and how strength training and power development really was the base of speed and athletic ability. So, deciding who you want to train and how you want to train them are two critical aspects to be in a gym. Some gyms, there are gyms, and we know a few who are Olympic weightlifting gyms, and they only train Olympic weightlifting, and Olympic weightlifters go there, CrossFitters go there, and people who are specialized in Olympic weightlifting. There are mobility gyms and people who are mobility experts, and you go to places that are known for restoration, rehab, and mobility work, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that a strength gym like ours is better than those places. It's a piece of the puzzle, but you have to define your ideology. And I think that another thing that the problem that a lot of young gym owners have is they learn something that becomes the law of the land, and then they learn something else, and then that becomes the law of the land, right. And then they learn something else, and then that becomes the law of the land, and they don't have a really defined ideology. It's very obvious when you walk through the doors here at Varsity what we do. There is never an hour here where there aren't weights clanking and some kid, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 20-year-old, lifting weights, doing resistance training, and obviously it's going to be scaled towards their level, but we are a strength gym. That's what we do. We create strong, powerful, explosive athletes, and that are well conditioned and have tons of explosive power. Once we get to that point, then we can start working about detailed speed development, track and field speed, things like that. And it really depends on the athlete and the sport and what they do. So create your ideal client. Come up with a training system, even if it's just a base template for what you want to do training wise, is a great way for to get started. And then what do you want your gym to feel like? What do you want the atmosphere to be like is another, aspect that I think people need to create. And it's like, are you going to if you're an adult gym and you're going to cater to women, right? You might not want to have nothing but free weights and chains hanging on the walls and pictures of Arnold all over the place. It might not be the best environment for women. If you're looking for women's fitness, if you're going to run a yoga studio, you're probably not going to have heavy metal, Megadeth, and Metallica playing all the time. So creating the atmosphere that matches your client and your training system is another part of that process. And we knew that we wanted a collegiate style training facility that looked like and felt like the training facilities that we trained in college and that our athletes trained in, in high school and college. And that was power racks, platforms, free weights, a turf field, and a whole lot of branding badassery around the gym,
And to your point with that, that was the original mold. And, it doesn't mean that, a mother of three is not going to want to come and train in this environment, because we have hundreds of adults, and most of, half of which are women, that are coming and training in this environment because they are attracted to, the hardcore approach to training. But again, that brand and that model was built before we had them. It was once upon a time, it was only athletes. We were obviously in a much smaller space with a much lower overhead to worry about, but it's just it's important to note that you can attract all different walks of life to one space, but you have to know that your brand, you should be catering to one person, and that person to us was a young high school or college athlete that wanted to train in a badass environment and be as explosive and strong as possible.
Yeah, I mean, and to that also, now that we are a much larger business and we do have adults, the core ideology is still the same though. When a woman comes in here, it is, hey, we are going to strength train. You are going to work hard. This is what we expect from you, and it's no different than what we expect from our athletes. Now, the output might be different, the goals might be different. An athlete might be looking to go play in the NFL. A woman might be just looking for weight loss.
The tone of the session could also be different.
Right,
where,
sure.
We have Mike Riley and Jason Foster and my brother Andrew Trombetti. Like, the intensity is a bit different, where we are blasting, could be Rick Ross or Metallica, and we're getting after it, and it's hot as hell in the gym, and it's going to be different than the 10 a.m. VFit, that's,
sure.
With 20 adults, I'm gonna lay off the blaring of Rick Ross, and,
Right.
The fans might be turned on a little bit higher, and, the tone of my voice may be a little bit nicer. So
right, exactly.
But things change.
Obviously. But that doesn't mean that the training system is the same.
Training's hard.
The training system
you're coming here to work hard.
Our women box squat, our women deadlift, our women bench press, they push the prowlers just like everybody else. They're doing IWTs.
They jump rope.
They jump rope. And the base ideology is the same. You're gonna, if you accept the fact that you're gonna walk through the doors and come train at Varsity House, you're gonna get after it. You're gonna sweat. It's gonna be hot. There's gonna be loud music, and you're gonna work your butt off. And you're gonna lift weights.
Be uncomfortable.
And you're gonna lift weights. And that's about it. So the next topic, kind of moving forward, is basically, once you've decided what your ideal client is, who do you want to train, and you've created the vision for your business. I want this awesome box gym athletic training facility. I want power racks. I want free weights. I'm not going to have a ton of, it's going to be, rowers and skiers and airdyne bikes. I'm not going to have treadmills and ellipticals and things like that. And then it's like, then create a lockdown business plan. And I think, we were very fortunate that we had time and the ability to create that plan, and while we were in the process, I was running my own gym, and I had a small version of Varsity House, which was the same ideology, the training system that we use there is the training system we use today. Have we improved our abilities? 100%. Have we added new things? Yes, but the core ideology is the same. The look of the gym, all we've done was take that original garage and make it bigger and nicer. But we had the time to create a really well-defined business plan, and that business plan was, not only did we lay out our ideal client, but how are we going to attract those clients to the gym, and what is the image and brand that those clients are attracted to. So for us, it was, middle school, high school, and college athletes. What do they want to see when they come into a gym? Right. So what do they see when a college athlete walks into their strength and conditioning facility? They see power racks, platforms, bumper plates, free weights, dumbbells, sleds, things like that. That's the stuff. That's the equipment we need and the image we need. And then the branding, the warrior training, the Varsity House, the name itself, right? Something that kids could associate with as being varsity athletes. All of our imagery in the gym, pictures of athletes training, pictures of athletes playing their sports, right? Testimonials on the website. Everything that Varsity House is represents the same core brand and ideology. All of our websites, our sister company, Varsity Highlights, same thing, same type of imagery, same type of branding. Everything funnels back to that core ideology. So, create a really locked down business plan and go through everything, your expenses, what your projection is, how much equipment you need, what equipment you need, who you're going to market to, and then go out and start laying out that process. And I think, fostering the brand also comes to living the brand. You get a lot of guys, if you're a businessman and you go into the gym business, a lot of those people fail because they are not truly passionate. They see an opportunity to make money and they're not truly living the brand. Me and Dan and everybody in this gym lives the brand. We live the code, we train, we push ourselves as hard as any of the athletes that train here, and I'm constantly trying to better myself, and I'm constantly trying to better my athletes. I'm coaching my team all the time,
And with that said, you get a group of kids in here, with the extension, obviously Joe and myself and all of our other coaches, they're the ones that are administering your system, okay? And for kids to just buy into somebody, if it's some guy that's, that doesn't look like they've trained ever, and they've sat in a classroom, and yeah, they could know the X's and O's real well, they could have gone to freaking 30 seminars, and they could know a lot, but if they cannot connect with 20 college football players on a personal level, step in and be reassured that, hey, we're going to rip this box squat, and no matter what, I got you in this rack.
I've been there, done that.
I got you. You're not going anywhere, and you're cueing that athlete, and you're as fired up for that athlete to hit the lift as they are. They feed off that energy. If you're a small, for lack of a better word, nerd, that just is, that knows a lot about training, but you can't really administer it, and you can't walk the walk. I'm not saying everybody's got to be a super freak and still bench 400 and squat 600, although that's great. But again, your presentation on the training floor, and especially your first impression, you walk a kid into our gym now. Every single coach is everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, but everybody's respectable looking. Everybody looks good. They're in shape. They're wearing Varsity House brands and colors, and it's obviously that's a different conversation. But when a 15 or 16-year-old kid comes and meets one of our coaches and go, wow, that guy, I want to do whatever he's doing, because at once upon a time in his life, I bet you he was a successful football player. I bet you he was a successful wrestler, or whatever it may be. So that's really
a perfect example of that was like this past summer. We had the interns come in. We had Adam and those guys, and and unfortunately for them, they came in to see me one Saturday. Just unannounced. They wanted to stop in and see the facility, and I made them. I crushed them with a couple cardiovascular tests, and they had a month before they were supposed to start their internship, and I kind of gave them the business. 50 calories on the air dyne all out, and a couple 100-meter ski sprints, and they were both laying outside in the grass, begging for mercy.
And with that said, the internship program here, yes, you're going to be in the classroom. Yes, you're going to be on the training floor training other people. Yeah. But a real requirement is that your personal physical fitness is going to be tested.
Exactly what my point was, is that I flat out told them, you guys are not where you need to be physically to represent the coaching and the needs that go on here. If you can't do what the kids and athletes do, at least as good or better than they can, they're never going to respect you. If you can't do a Prowler Mountain and can't finish it, our college kids will laugh at you. They won't listen to you. If I can't rip a 2K row better than 90% of my college kids, who am I to tell them what to do? They see me every day crushing myself in the gym. Even at 40 years old, 20 years in business, 20 years of lifting heavy weights and crushing weights, I'm still trying to improve myself. Not for me. I'm doing it for the business. I'm doing it. I love training, but I want those guys to see how hard I work, and that so they respect me as their coach. Next thing for fostering your brand is getting out and finding your clients, and going where your clients are. For us, it's a little bit different now. 10 years later, but even like this past weekend, I was at a 5K. I set up a table. Here's me, 20 years of training, 20 years in business. We're still in business. I'm at a 5K, 8 in the morning with my wife, repping our brand. Head to toe Varsity House, all our imagery, a big badass banner behind us talking about strength and conditioning, and trying to, get out into the community. But me and Dan and Coach Mike and our general manager Trevor spent the bulk of the first 5 years literally going to hundreds of games, cold calling ADs. I used to annoy the ADs at schools with emails sometimes to the point where they told me to go away. We used to go put flyers on cars at games where to the point where we were getting cease and desist letters from schools that they were going to press charges against us for soliciting and what was it, littering because the cards were getting thrown away and stuff like that all over the parking lots.
That they had me on video
soliciting and stuff. So I mean, it was really rogue marketing. We would stand outside the fences of a football game, and as kids were coming in, we'd hand out flyers, going to games, talking to coaches. I would show up at a football field. I would be driving home. I remember clear as day. We're driving home, and I'm in Emerson, New Jersey, and I see the football team out in the field, and I run over to the coach, and I'm like, "Hey, coach, I'm trying to," and he's like, he doesn't want anything to do with me because he's coaching in practice, and I'm like trying to chase him down on the field to get 2 seconds of his time to see if I can talk to him, to see if he'll listen to me, and to tell if I can help him, help his team. So, you have to really put yourself out there, and everything you're doing, you are your brand. So, this is pretty much my outfit 24/7, 7 days a week. I'm in the Starbucks. I'm Joe from Varsity House. I'm at the ShopRite. I'm Joe from Varsity House, and it's really, I'm trying to represent my brand. And I'm trying to tell everybody, you never know who knows who. So, don't be a dick. Try to be good in your community. Try to give back in your community. When you're talking to the girl at Starbucks, be nice to her. Talk to her. Talk to the people in there. One of those people you never know, especially in this area. One of those people that you're talking to, his brother might be a big sports agent or the head coach of a school or an AD.
So with that said, way back when we might not have had the same amount of athletes, but it was really important for the athletes that we did have going to their games and genuinely caring about what was going on in the game. So you're in the stands and you're cheering for those kids because you have a vested interest in their success and that you want them to be successful because they had 8 months of hard training and it should pay off for them.
Yeah.
And when you're there and their parents see how much you genuinely care about it, they're gonna speak about it as hey. Joe from Varsity House really helped Johnny, become a successful football player. Well, now, if I have another kid or a cousin or a good friend and they ask, well, how did Johnny get so good at football? Oh, well, you got to send him to Joe at Varsity House.
Yeah, great guys. They're great guys. They're good mentors.
Right. That's the type of stuff that's going to lead to long-term business success. You can't just care about the dollars associated with the people that you're training. You have to truly care about the success of especially athletes that you're training because there's something tangible with that. If you have a wrestler that goes on and wins a state championship, that's something that nobody can ever take away from that. If you were associated with it, it's something that you could almost always hang your hat on and be like, wow, even if it was a small part of their success, you were part of their success, and people will always talk about that.
This past year we were obviously super fortunate to have 2 kids that you trained in the state championship who won their matches, right. And it was an amazing experience to be there for them, to see that that match and to see them wrestle, to see their families, to have them come literally after the match. It's like the first, obviously their mom and dad, but they're like the first people that come running over to say and thank is us, and thank you so much for all your help and things like that. And that's really a rewarding feeling, and if you don't have that feeling, you might not be in the right business. Yeah, that's what I mean. Beyond has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with money. I didn't care. Me and you, nobody paid. We had to go spend our own money to get a hotel room and spend time down in AC and stuff like that. Fun time. But it's a true passion. And another thing is that doesn't stop. I think the problem, a lot of people that start sitting on their hands. So we're still going to games. We got a lot more kids now, so we can't go to every game, but we're still going to games. We're still doing events. We're still doing stuff in the community. We're still raising money for charities. We're still doing our huge strongman fundraiser every summer, our strongman challenge.
And the thing is to that is that I believe that the guys that we have here, regardless if they found Varsity House Gym or not, or would be doing those things anyways. I still would be going to college football games. Yeah. I still would be going to local high school football games just to support the community.
Yeah.
I still would be going out and donating some time to local, charities and just anything that you could do. Get out in the community. If you're a people person, you enjoy other people's company, and you're going to do those things. So again, it's passion. It doesn't feel like work when I show up to Old Tapan versus Demrest on a Friday night. It's not work. It's not work to go see obviously my brother play with 4 other of his teammates train here. Drive up 3 hours and 3 hours there, 3 hours back in the same day. It's not work. It's enjoyable. It's something that I'd be doing anyways. So
branding is really the key the key takeaway from this is that branding is an ideology. You got to make sure that your staff and everybody's associated with your brand and your clients know exactly what you and your gym are all about. Don't tell them what they want to hear. Tell them what you are, and then find the people that believe that is the right thing for them.
They're out there.
You're not gonna attract everybody. If master of all trades, jack of all trades, master of none. You have to have something that you can hang your hat on that you are defined as and you are good at. We are the go-to football and sports performance training facility in our area, 100%. And in my eyes, one of the top training facilities in the country. We have an amazing training program, we have an amazing brand, we have an amazing group of coaches, and we get athletes results. And that's the key. And that is a belief that starts literally in our hearts and then exudes out to everything we do. If you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing, stick to it. Stay in the tunnel. Don't listen to the naysayers and haters, right? You're not doing it right if you're not getting sued for something. Okay, and you don't have haters, right? If you don't have trolls and haters on your Instagram and Facebook page, you're not doing something right. So ignore them and keep doing it right. Because if you got 10 kids who believe in you, it's working, and just keep spreading it and spreading it and spreading it. So the next thing is choose your friends wisely. So when I started, it was all me. So I was the only friend that I needed at that point. You know what I mean? So I really didn't have anybody to associate with. But as the business grew, I was by myself for 3 years training athletes in a little dungeon, right, in a little garage dungeon. And then it got to a point where, me and Dan had become really good friends and had started, contemplating some business development stuff with him and speaking to him and his family and stuff like that. And then, and he had introduced me to our GM, Trevor. And Trevor was, doing some back end, like technical work for us, the websites and my brochures and flyers and stuff like that. And we wanted to create a real business, because being by myself was great and I was making good money, but again, it's not a business. I'm just a guru by myself. I was very busy. I was training all day and night, and I wanted to create a real brand. So me and Dan became partners, and the only thing I cared about at that time, Dan, obviously he had been an athlete his whole life, and he had trained as a football player his whole life, and he had been through training with me for a few years. And training as in his strength and conditioning programs in high school and college, but he never owned a gym, right? He was 22, I think, when we first started.
We started a business plan. I was 22 when we opened. Yep. I was 23. Yeah.
Exactly. So he's 23 years old, a business owner, with no real business experience. But what I knew that Dan was a really awesome guy, and that he was a good coach, and he had an enormous amount of passion for football and sports, and he had a great connection to the community, with his mother being a teacher locally and his brother being still a young kid at the time and being only 13, I think, or 12 or 13 years old at the time, and having a great key to the community. I'll teach you how to train. I'll teach you some of the X's and O's, and we'll learn this process together, and we'll figure it out, because you can't teach moralities. You can't teach showing up on time. You can't teach, staying late. You can't teach on a Friday night when it's raining out. I'm sitting out at a freaking football game for 3.5 hours watching a football game in November in the freezing cold because I want to see my kids play. and stuff like that. So choose your friends wisely. Everybody who's associated with your brand has to have the same ideologies and core values. Don't bring them in. Don't react because you need somebody. Find the right person. Create a mini army. Make sure you're constantly reinforcing your brand and your ideology. We have a board meeting here every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I try to hammer home one aspect of the business and why it's important to me and Dan and the vision of Varsity House and the long-term progress of what we're doing here.
That's front desk employees, that's technical employees, that's coaches. Everybody's on deck for Wednesdays at 2 o'clock every week.
This morning I got here at 7 a.m. The cleaning staff is here. I even teased the cleaning staff about working out and hey, if you're gonna come here and train, if you're gonna come here and clean the gym, you got to be in shape, and it's a joke, but in a sense, it's not. I want everybody who comes here to know what this place is about, to understand what we're trying to accomplish here. So, choose your friends wisely. Make sure your staff, like we kind of said before, make sure your staff and everybody here can walk the walk, right, and can talk the talk. So, however you have to come up with some. Now, we're not going to talk today about specific marketing plans and specific sales pitches and things like that, but there's a certain lingo that goes on here at Varsity House. I think it started with me, kind of starting with it, but like the cueing we use for coaching, right, is very consistent. How we coach and the things we say to our athletes when we're coaching, say, a box squat, a deadlift, a bench press, an Olympic lift, are all the same. Our sales process, our evaluation process is very consistent. And the verbiage and wording and how it comes out should be similar too. Right? I can't tell one kid one thing and Dan tells him another, and Coach Mike tells him another thing, and then the kid's just confused. It's like having a skill coach, and then a kid who goes to a couple different skill coaches. Maybe for basketball, one guy's teaching a shot one way, another guy's teaching him another thing, and the kid gets all messed up. So I think having that that talk the talk, walk the walk kind of ideology is important. That's why we do our board meeting, and that's why and we're still talking about some of the same things we started talking about 10 years ago every week in the board meeting, and it's just, hey, reinforce that.
It's just fundamentals. It's fundamentally, you got to always work on fundamentals in any business.
Yeah. Yesterday we reviewed our client processing process. When a client comes through the door, how do we lead that client through a great experience of Varsity House? Bringing them in the gym, getting them into an evaluation, getting them into a training program, selling them that training program, and making sure that the follow-up and the results that they're getting is positive, and that their experience is positive, right? We've done that probably since we've been in this new gym for a year. We've probably done that same process 3 or 4 times at least. At least once a quarter, to make sure that everybody is on the same page. And there's no different employees here. Everybody's the same. We're just making sure that, hey, let's just have a refresher on what we're doing here to make sure that our system is A, working properly, and B, everybody's saying the same things and
you can never be too
image.
Prepared for a process
like that. Next thing is, I would say Dan is probably the best at this, I was always more of the training guy and the technical training guy who ran the product itself and developed the product and kind of handled the back end, the finances and the accounting and the payroll and stuff. Dan was always kind of more of the people guy and connected really well with the athletes, and probably because he's younger and closer to them. I'm like dad, I'm the one always yelling at the kids and telling them what they have to do and stuff like that, and Dan was always like the buddy. So I think what happened was, bringing Dan into the business really helped me become a better salesperson and really helped me become a better marketer, because Dan became friends with, and Dan was friends and created a real sense of a tribe and community with our athletes, and he's always constantly texting them, emailing them. He knows all the stats of their games still. He still, catches up on all their games on the weekends and tries to watch as many college games and high school games as he can. And he's really, that has, like he said before, nothing speaks more about your passion and your want to see a kid do better than really supporting them. And supporting them's not like, hey man, you had a great job, and then I don't see you again for 4 months and I never hear from you.
Or it should never be, how was the season?
Right.
You know, when they're coming back for your winter strength and conditioning program. And I think also with that, it's just, I think what we did even from the start, I mean, that first summer we had, I think, 8 college kids. Now there was over 40 now, but it was just, you know, we started the summer stud program, you know, where, you know, guys want to win the summer stud. You recognize as the top college athlete in our group. You give them the championship belt. We have take them
out to dinner.
We take them out to dinner. We do things as a group with all the coaches go. And, you know, this summer we had a huge barbecue. We had over 60 people here for the barbecue. Yep. You know, and Andy Labadov, Big Ivan Drago won the belt. You know, and that's a moment that kids want to be on that board. They want to be immortalized forever on that board, and that's kind of something that we started in the beginning of creating that tribe and creating that fan base where, you know, we have kids like Chris Colsar. He won that award. He's back in here all the time.
Keneally,
Chris Keneally, Gene Oakley, John Tringali. These are guys that have since moved on from football. Now 10 years.
30 years old who still come and train and want to be part of the crew and literally every week we talk about the memories of when we trained, and some of those guys like Chris and Gene, I trained when they were young kids.
It's a fraternity. It's a network that never goes away. And you see some of these guys now that, you know, so some are coaches, some are lawyers, some are working on Wall Street. So it's just like, you know, you just are truly friends with such a huge outreach of kids as we've cycled over, you know, 48 this past summer. It was probably about 36 a summer, 35 or 36 a summer before. You know, and obviously you graduate some kids, but, you know, a lot of our guys will stay on forever and they just get cycled into, you know, our adult training washed up meathead crew. But you know, it's important.
So I mean, some key points, you know, for creating a tribe is, you know, just over deliver all the time. You know, whether it's the training, and obviously the training is the product, and results are critical to the process of athletic development. You know, and even our adults, it might not be
it's still number one.
Still number one. Number one is results, but an over deliver. Have your training program set up ahead of time. Have a plan. Get to the gym early. Get your workouts on the whiteboard. Corral your crew and tell them what you expect from them in every workout. It's the same, right? Teach them how to do the process properly. Teach them. There's got to be one guy in a crew of athletes who's like the team captain, who really kind of buys in, who you could say, hey, you know, if you're working with another client, it's like, hey, get the crew warmed up, get everybody going, get everyone on the jump ropes, and you have to create, you know, that little, like, that team of micromanagers by over delivering all the time and taking kids aside and showing them specifically how to do certain things and constantly giving them, you know, I'm downstairs, you know, Trevor, our GM, busy as hell. He's downstairs, we're running our transformation. He's downstairs making shakes, talking to clients, helping out the front desk girls, making sure everybody's getting processed, making sure nobody's standing there waiting 10 minutes for a shake or if they need to you know, renew their account and stuff like that. And it's just constant giving. I'm emailing people. I'm spending extra time stretching some of the women because the backs are tight, or stretching the athletes. I can't tell you how many free training sessions, you know, in the last 10 years that we've given away.
It just comes back to caring. You gotta care.
Know what your clients want and what they need, and give it to them, right? You know, so it's figure out all the aspects of athletic development, right? So we know that there's strength and power, right, and speed. We know that there's mobility, flexibility, and restoration. And we know that there's nutrition, and there's a mental aspect of it. There's confidence and the ability. You got to find a way to achieve each one of those goals. Now you don't have to be an expert in all of them, but you got to help those kids with the things that they need. You got to help those athletes with all of those things. We have nutrition packets for the kids. It's basic information, but it's a lot better than a lot of the kids are eating. And I have a whole flexibility and mobility program, right? The kids get it. They get packets with all that stuff when the kids come in. So it's just anything that you can do to make it easier for yourself. Put a whole system of warm-up drills on the wall, right, with pictures of the drills that take you 5 minutes to shoot in the gym with your cell phone, and you can have those still shots put up in the gym. And when the kids come in, hey guys, go through the series, and it's your go-to warm-up series, right? Hey guys, I have a shoulder rehab series on that wall. I got a hip and knee rehab series on that wall. Things like that really, they help the kids think for themselves. They help the athletes and the clients think for themselves, start learning about their own body, start learning about the training process, and then it makes it, so now now at any given day here, I might have 10 people in the gym who are almost, ready to be coaches here at the gym.
They're taking ownership of their own training.
Be attentive. I see a lot of laziness. When I walk into other gyms, and obviously I take things with a grain of salt because I own the gym, and I own the gym. But the reality is that I see a lot of complacency. Hanging out, sitting down, leaning against the wall, texting on the phone, things like that. That shit drives me crazy. Okay? You need the client is paying, the kids are playing. I got an athlete about to deadlift 400 pounds, and I'm worried about the music. I don't think so. You got to get in the zone. You got to stay attentive. You got to be and being attentive not only in the training, but being attentive to the needs and wants of your clients. Are the training sessions going well? Are they getting results? How does their body feel? How many times do we ask kids, how you feeling today? You should always ask everybody before any session. Anybody feeling anything that they shouldn't be? Anybody's knees bothering them? Hey, because most kids or adults, they just don't speak up. So you could start a training session and somebody's like, "Oh, my back's killing me." Well, why didn't you tell me when you started? It's your job to get that information before the session. So be attentive. Create a checklist for yourself and your trainers as to how your training sessions want to go, and the key and critical components that you believe in as a facility and a gym that are critical to your process. For us, we know we're going to be lifting weights. We know the warm-up process is essential to getting kids and athletes ready to lift weights. So we have an entire process built around getting ready to lift weights.
And speaking of being attentive too, make sure that you have a logbook of your training clients.
Yeah.
That look, it's impossible now to remember what everybody's doing off the top of your head. I don't care how smart you are. Write things down. Obviously your program can be pliable where, certain things are going to need to bend according to how your athletes are feeling. But I'm telling you right now, I think, we talked about a little bit about Joe DeFranco before, but he said, that how to spot a bad personal trainer. And, obviously when we've been away, we've had to be training in some hotel gyms or just some big Globo gym type places. Half the coaches there, more than half the coaches, aren't writing anything down on these sessions that are costing $100, $150 an hour. That is a bad coach, people. Yeah. Don't be one of those people. Yeah. Write things down. Be attentive to the details of your clients. I don't give a shit if you're writing down that the person, that they were using 15-pound dumbbells on their dumbbell bench presser. Well, we could reevaluate 3 months from now. If they're still dumbbell bench pressing 15 freaking pounds, you're not doing your job. If their goal is to increase strength and performance.
And it's easy, and we've done a couple episodes on programming and periodization, and we'll definitely post some of our training templates and things like that on there. Okay, so another thing is, obviously, making calls, sending emails, sending letters, being down, a lot of times I'll be down at the front desk, and it's just, interfacing with the clients. I know most of the people, almost everybody that comes in here. I know all their names, but I know their kids' names. I know their husbands' names. I know what they do. I know where they go. I know where they've been on vacation. And we talk about. I'm a huge foodie, so it's like, hey, I'm talking about food. We're hanging out, and I'm trying to create a sense of friendship and comfort. We're about to get as uncomfortable as hell. At least you're doing it with a bunch of friends. At least you're in an environment where everybody's in it together. Don't be afraid to work too. Hustle is a huge part of the business. The training business is a grind business. There really isn't. I've never been in any gym anywhere where you could just sit on your ass and just collect money. It doesn't work that way. Not any training business. So stay late, don't complain, and offer your help as much as you can. When we started, me and Dan would open the gym. Early in the morning. We had 6 a.m. classes, and we closed the gym at 9 p.m. We were there all day, every day, on the weekends, 7 days a week. I worked 7 days a week for 3 years straight, and I've worked 6 days a week until this summer, almost every single year for the last 6 years. 6 days a week, 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week, depending on whatever it took. Traveling all over the freaking state for games and things like that. I never complained once because I knew that it would come back to me, not only financially, but personally rewarding, that the kids and the people who speak about our gym talk about it like it really is. This was an integral and important part of their lives, that they really loved being here. Don't chase money, chase results. And to finish it out, I think the last thing here is just be consistent. Whatever it is, write down, come up with a plan. The one thing I wish that I could go back and tell a younger Joe and Dan was to, write down all your systems, get systematic with everything, come up with a system for everything in your business, a sales system, a back-end system, a marketing system, a training system. And we had the training thing down pat, but the business side of things took us a little while to kind of figure things out. Years. And hopefully in future episodes and in the future we'll be providing some of those done for you products, that you could use and use as templates. But being consistent, people go to places that they're familiar with. Every single time you go to a Hilton hotel or a McDonald's, it has a consistent image, brand, and people go because they get used to that. If you're a strength guy, be the best strength guy. Don't try to be everything. Be something great. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Hey, if you like what you saw today, please click on the button below. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, and share us with your friends. And drop us a comment if you have any questions regarding the business of strength and conditioning and/or programming. Feel free to contact us. Thank you, Dan, for helping me out. And thanks, being guys. A badass partner as always. And we'll see you next time on the Beef Lab.